Jeremiah Trotter Jr.,
Yes.
son of former All-Pro linebacker Jeremiah Trotter with the Eagles, just tweeted out a clip of him. What do you got for us on background?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, Jeremiah Trotter, and I'm right outside of Philadelphia. So anybody that lives outside of Philadelphia or the then Washington Redskins, where Jeremiah Trotter played, he was a very, I mean, they called him the Axeman, was Jeremiah Trotter Sr. And he was a 6'1", 255, 260-pound inside linebacker. Like, he was an old school throwback. He actually played at Stephen F. Austin, Joe, kind of talking about his dad for a second. And he was a safety, apparently, originally at Stephen F. Austin. Then he bulked up into the hulking inside linebacker that he ended up being, which is just.
It said he was 260, which is awesome.
Yes, 260 pounds he ended up being, and he was just an absolute monster. He's got a couple sons now. Obviously, we're talking about Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He also has another son named Josiah Trotter, who's going to play playing at West Virginia. Both the Trotter sons played at St. Joe's Prep, which is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, one of the better schools in the country. They're actually going to be playing St. Joseph's Prep. They're actually going to be playing IMG Academy in New Jersey this year, down in Ocean City, I think is where they're playing, which is going to be a pretty – I'm going to be at that game, so it's going to be pretty awesome. So he went – same kind of deal as what we saw from Barrett Carter. I think Barrett Carter had like 26 tackles as a freshman. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had 22 total tackles as a freshman, a tackle for loss and a sack as a key backup for Clemson. Took over a starting role this past year as the middle linebacker, led the team with 92 total tackles, 13 and a half tackles for loss. He also had 6.5 sacks, 6 pass breakups playing middle linebacker. Was a second-team All-American by the Associated Press, third-team All-American and second-team All-ACC by Pro Football Focus, and a second-team All-ACC selection by College Football Network and Phil Steele. So, highly decorated, NFL bloodlines, Philadelphia kid, born and bred, and now he's starting middle linebacker for the University of Clemson. 6 foot, 230 pounds listed.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's really up to that 230 number because he's not like
he's not.
Him. Both these guys they're not used to what we see at linebacker where it's just like really hulked out frames. And I know that there's an offseason where he's probably going to put on a little bit of weight before the upcoming season. Trotter, very clearly more of a Mike backer, very clearly more of a guy that is the lead go-to linebacker in a defense. Not massive. He's only listed at that 6 foot number that you said. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's not like 5'11" in a couple inches or some change there, or quarters of an inch. I think that not nearly as good of an athlete. You know, he's not super crazy twitchy. He's not sideline to sideline, but he's a good athlete for what he needs to do from tackle to tackle. Does a good job. I think his instincts are inconsistent. I think he guesses at times, which is not great. But when he does make the right read and he does make the right decisions, I think he navigates traffic really well. And the thing that I was impressed by with Trotter Jr., his play strength for not being like 250 is great. There were a bunch of times where he lays some wood and the ball comes flying out. Like, he can really hit dudes. And I don't think he has any trouble taking on blockers. That to me is what I like. And I think that he fits more of what the modern Mike linebacker is moving towards. These smaller guys that don't need to be as domineering, just like massive. Like, they don't need to be Jack Campbell. He can move tackle to tackle. He can move in space, and he's got the play strength and the instincts to navigate traffic and get through blockers.
Well, you need to tell Dan Campbell that they don't need to look like Jack Campbell, because according to him, they need to look like that. They need to be 6'5", 250 pounds and run 4.65. So, but Joe, I was not a Jeremiah Trotter Jr. fan as a prospect. I love him as a college linebacker. He's an excellent college linebacker. I think that this is a perfect example of differentiating really good college football player with that lacks NFL traits. That's what I see with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I told you I have a comp for him. You ready for this? You want to take a guess at it real quick?
Not his dad.
No, not his dad. His dad was 260 pounds of just behemoth.
Right.
I have a comp for him of a player that you loved last year in the draft.
Don't say Ivan Pace.
Ivan Pace is
no.
Yes.
No, stop
Joe.
it. Stop.
Just come with me for a minute. Just go with me for a minute.
Because he can actually like play in he can kind of play in space, and he's not a liability in pass coverage. Also, Ivan Pace was 5'8", maybe. I saw
Ivan
him in
Pace. All
person.
right.
Was
Let's start here.
tiny.
Let's start here. Ivan Pace was 5'10" and some change and 230 pounds. Okay. I think that we're talking about a kid that's 5'11 and a half, 225, 230 pounds. There was not an incredible difference. There's not, man. I think that Jeremiah Trotter, one thing that is different than Ivan is that he is going to have better length than Ivan Pace. There's no doubt about that. I think his arm length is better than him. But what I see on film, Joe, and you know I'm I'm very critical of linebacker play. Very critical.
Yes.
This kid is a really good block slipper. He plays very hard, and he works pretty well in pursuit.
Scrappy was the word that I used.
He's a tough kid. He's a really tough kid. But he's small, doesn't have a ton of length. He's got decent shock in his hands, which I like. I do like the shock that he has. I think that he can do well at the point of attack. I also don't think he's a good athlete. I don't. I think he's a very average athlete. Very average.
I don't think he's a bad athlete, though. That was what I wrote.
I just said average.
I wrote average. Average was how I classified him. Maybe slightly above.
Average would be great if he was 6'2", 235 pounds. Average would be great because you're fine. Okay. But when you're an undersized linebacker and you're also not a plus athlete, that worries me, right? That was the thing with Ivan Pace. It's like Ivan isn't a terrible athlete, but he wasn't big either. So when you have the double-edged sword of not being big and not being fast and athletic, that's where things get hairy because everything is going to get faster and more aggressive at the next level. And I agree with you. He's got some really nice play strength. He lowers the boom on dudes at times. But every big hit that you watch of him, what is it? It's someone playing well on the front side and him playing in pursuit from middle linebacker, which that's actually not a good thing. It's not. Usually Mike linebackers need to be more into the play earlier on in the play. I think that's the biggest indicator that this kid is not a great athlete. I think he's average. I think he's below average from a size perspective. I think that this kid is a really good college linebacker that is going to struggle a little bit in the NFL. I do. I do not see the traits requisite that gets me excited. Like he's going to be a similar height to like a Devin Bush or a Devin White, right? But a little bit.
He's not nearly as fast.
I want to take it this way. I want to take it this way. He is probably going to be about the same exact size as Devin Bush. But why did Devin Bush get drafted so high? Because he was 4'4" athlete, man. He was an incredible athlete. And even he has struggled in the NFL because it's tough to play middle linebacker at that size. He is not the biggest kid. He's not densely put together. I think it's going to be difficult for him, man. And I tried to recheck myself last night. I watched him and I was like, I don't get it. I don't get the Jeremiah Trotter thing. So I went back because I was like, I don't think he's a good athlete. And I'm like, but you know me, I try to be super thorough. So I'm like, I want to look at some past testing numbers he's had and be like, oh, wow, he's a better athlete than I think. Let me go back and watch again. I went back and looked at some of the testing numbers he did come out of high school, Joe. Ran 4.81 with a 30-inch vert and a 4.5 in the shuttle.
Man, I hope that's improved. Look.
I do not think that he's going to be a good athlete, man. I think at best he's going to be a 4.7 flat type of kid at 228 pounds. That's what I see. I just don't think he's a great athlete, man. Yeah, it's concerning. I don't know.
Look, I'm not like gonna sit here and say that he's a top 50 pick.
Joe.
No, I'm not. I mean, my description of him, I don't think it was like wow, this is really impressive. I see all that stuff that you're talking about. I mean, I gave him a 3rd round grade. Like, I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't think that he's going to be at the combine and teams are going to be like, nope. I don't. Because that happened with Ivan Pace. Like Ivan Pace went, he went undrafted, right?
Well, it was weird about Ivan Pace because Ivan Pace actually went to his pro day and tested better than I thought he was going to test, and he still went undrafted.
But
you loved him, though, man.
You saw him
you loved
no,
him.
but I did, and that was a mistake.
Yeah.
He was not built to play in the NFL. Like I saw him in person, and I loved what he did at the Senior Bowl. But like the more that I saw him in person, I was just like, this guy's not an NFL linebacker. I don't know. I feel like Trotter is considerably bigger on film than Ivan Pace was, but I gave him a 3rd round grade, slightly above Barrett Carter.
6th, 7th round grade from me for Jeremiah Trotter.
Oh my God!
I think he's a late round draftable player that's going to have to make a living on special teams. That's what I see. I don't see starter, man. I see that he is a kid that's going to need to play special teams and back up multiple positions in order to lock down a 53-man roster. That's what I see with him, unfortunately. Just don't see it.
Well, we'll see what happens with both these guys. At Joe DeLeone, at Rise and Draft. We'll be back with more this week. Before we continue on with this video, I just want to tell you folks about an exciting new partnership that we have with this channel with Underdog Fantasy. Ever since I joined, I've been having so much fun. There are so many different exciting games that make watching games during the offseason more exciting. I'm not the biggest basketball fan, but it has made it way more entertaining since I found Underdog Fantasy. And my favorite game to play so far, which I think you should try out, is Pick'em. It is so easy to play. Just pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your Pick'em slip, get every pick right, and take home some cold hard cash. Use code HACK, H-A-C-K, HACK, like the name of this channel. Use code HACK to get your first deposit doubled up to $100 by Underdog. Go sign up. You won't regret it. You're going to have a blast. Check out Underdog Fantasy. I also want to tell you folks about our other recurring sponsor that we have on this channel, that being BetOnline, betonline.ag, which is all the updated odds, news, and anything for sports betting. It's my go-to source for when I want to be betting specifically on games. I love betting on college basketball or the NBA, especially, again, during the offseason. Always looking for more fun ways to be focused in on some of these other sports. It's betonline.ag and use promo code BELIEVE50. It's promo code BELIEVE50 to get 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.